Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online updates here and online interviews. Now we want to talk for the first time to Targa Exploration, and Cameron Tymstra, the CEO, is here with us. Yeah, good morning to Canada. How are you, Cameron?
I'm well, Jochen. How are you? It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you very much. We know us from Tarachi Gold, another story, but we don't want to talk about that today. Now, Targa Exploration, a new venture, I would say, within the Inventa Group also. Yeah, Cameron, what is Targa about? Please give us a short overview on the company.
Thanks, Jochen. Well, Targa is a relatively new company. We just listed on the CSE back in September of 2022. And since that time, Targa has been building a portfolio of early stage lithium exploration assets solely focused in Canada. So at this time, we have 10 projects. Those are spread across 4 provinces from Saskatchewan to Quebec. Combined total of those 10 projects, we have over 275,000 hectares of land that we control that is highly prospective for lithium deposits. Of course, the type of deposit that we're looking for in this part of Canada are the LCT or lithium, cesium, tantalum type pegmatite hard rock deposits, the same sort of deposits that the likes of Patriot Battery Metals, for example, has discovered on their properties in Quebec. Actually, one of our projects is located just 40 kilometers south of their large Corvette deposit. And this summer, we'll be launching programs across our portfolio of assets to search for these types of lithium deposits. And a couple of our assets in our portfolio are actually known sources or occurrences of lithium, particularly our 2 assets in northern Manitoba. So we're really excited to follow up on those historic lithium occurrences and also to explore for new potential lithium deposits across our portfolio this summer.
Okay, super. So Targa Exploration, as the name says, you are an exploration company, let's say also a little bit of a smaller company, and you said it already, 275,000 hectares. You are in Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. Is that not a bit a lot for a small company?
In this game, I mean, no one's really gone out and explored for lithium,
Okay.
to the extent that they've explored for things like gold and copper across Canada. But really a large portion of Canada, particularly that Canadian Shield area, is really prospective for these lithium type deposits since they are generated from certain types of granite intrusions that we find sort of all across those provinces. And really when it comes to this early stage exploration, we want to get as many shots on net as possible. So certainly spreading around and covering these really large packages of land helps guarantee or certainly increase our chances of discovery success. So the summer field program is really all going to be about assessing the potential of each of these projects at an early stage and really narrowing down the areas that we think have the highest potential so we can concentrate on those in our phase 2 programs.
Okay, super. Yeah, and I saw in your presentation you have already outlined your phase 1 exploration plan for a lot of projects already. I think it's like, even it's 8 projects already you have outlined here. Let's start with the Masquero project because you had a press release on 13th June on that. So what will you start on really? Because I think you cannot drill all 8 projects at the same time, right?
Certainly, and drilling is going to be a later phase of exploration. Right now, what we're really trying to do is assess the potential of these projects and really get a better understanding of the geology and the geochemistry and the potential for the granites in these areas to generate these lithium pegmatite style deposits. So since most of these areas before have never been explored for lithium before, a lot of them haven't really been explored for anything. They're a little more virgin areas and have lighter detail of their local geology. We're getting out there in the field with large prospecting teams to traverse across the properties, do a lot of detailed mapping, sample the granites that we have there, and also the pegmatites that we do find. Mascaro in particular, we have close to 100 historically mapped pegmatites on there, but we don't have any information on the mineralogy of these pegmatites. No samples to show potential lithium values in there as well. So getting out in the field to identify these historic pegmatites, the potential source granites as well, and really study those to understand whether or not they have the potential to generate the lithium sort of deposits that we're looking for. We recently added to our technical team, we added a new geologist. He's our geology manager. He just completed his PhD in lithium pegmatite style deposits. So he's helping us spearhead our process of narrowing down these large land packages to identify the areas with the most potential. And so that's what we're doing at Mascaro. We're heading up to Leaf River as well this month, and then up to Ngava after that. So working with a great field team to help us survey these properties and really get a better understanding of the geology that's there and the potential that lies.
Okay, so Quebec is then really in your focus, if I get that right, because you will spend in Quebec alone over 1.2 million dollars, right?
Yeah, our largest land holdings are in Quebec. We have 4 projects out there, 3 of which we recently acquired from legendary prospector Sean Ryan, well known for using geochemistry to make large gold discoveries. He's now applying that prospecting approach to lithium-style deposits as well. So we acquired some very large land packages from him, but a lot of those areas have very good bedrock exposure. So we think that we can cover those large areas very quickly, get good detailed mapping. So we're starting with the 3 projects that we acquired from him, and currently waiting to do some work on our other project in Quebec called Opanaca. Unfortunately, that's our only project that's located in a region that has experienced a lot of forest fires recently in the province of Quebec. So the provincial government has limited the field work that you can do in certain areas, and our Opanaca project is the only project we have that sort of falls within that restricted area. So we can't go in there yet to do work on it, but we're hoping later this year we'll get to launch a field program on that project as well.
Okay, super. So let's assume you do that all over the summer. When will we see first results, and when will follow the first drilling? Probably next year.
Yeah, possibly over the winter, we'd like to see some drilling. The 2 projects we acquired also from Kenorland Minerals in Manitoba, those are sort of our superior projects. Those are both historic lithium occurrences that do have some historic drill holes on them. So those certainly represent our sort of probably going to be our first drill programs will be up there because we already have drill targets identified. And historically, these areas were more explored for their cesium and tantalum potential by the Tanco Mining Company, which operates the Tanco Mine in southern Manitoba around 1980, 1981. And we believe that the lithium potential for these projects was really overlooked because there were areas that had higher grade surface samples of lithium, but they didn't drill those areas. They drilled the areas that had higher surface samples of cesium and tantalum and rubidium because that was more of their focus at that time. And these higher grade lithium areas we think were largely ignored. So we're really excited to get back up there and do some field work. The mineral exploration licenses for those that we acquired from Kenorland at that time, they were just in the application phase when we acquired them. About a month ago, those applications finally got approved by the Manitoba government. So now that we have those approvals, we can start making more concrete plans to get in the field there probably in August. So likely we'll be most likely be drilling on those properties first, since we already have some drill targets identified. And then depending on how this phase 1 program we have in Quebec right now, potentially drilling there in the future as well.
Okay, super. Can you give us a bit more of an idea where all those projects are located? Meaning, how is the infrastructure situation? Because I can imagine if you have to fly in, fly out to every project, that might be a bit expensive these days.
Absolutely, yeah. And so our projects are sort of a mix. Some are a little closer to infrastructure, some are a little more remote. The reason we started at Mascaro first, because that's our southernmost project in the province of Quebec, so it has a longer working season. We can also drive to within about 10 kilometers of the property. So we do fly into the property with helicopter access, but we're only about 10 kilometers or so from the local logging roads, so much closer to infrastructure. Mascaro is also located just north of the St. Lawrence Seaway, so much closer to future infrastructure for transportation and port access and highway access, for example, if we do make a discovery there in the future. Going a little further north, Leaf River and Ungava, those are in the Inuvik region of northern Quebec. So certainly a little more remote, but not too far from other mining operations. One of our projects actually is only about 75 kilometers to the Raglan nickel mine, for example, which has road and port access. So there's certainly other large scale mining operations up in that region, potentially being able to piggyback off of some of that existing infrastructure. In Ontario, both of our projects in Ontario have road access. They're next to a highway. There's a rail line that goes past them as well, and a power line that parallels that highway. So great infrastructure there. And in Manitoba, it's a bit of a mix. A southernmost property there does have road access. There's a community nearby. And then our Red Cross Lake project is a little bit further north, and that will be a fly-in project for us at this time. So certainly a bit of a mix. We'll be probably focusing a little bit more maybe on the more accessible projects, because we can explore those much more cheaply and much more easily over the course of the year. We just did sort of a bit of a first investigative field program at the Ontario projects just for a couple of days, just to investigate the access and look at the geology there, and we're pretty excited with what we see. So yeah, certainly a bit of a mix, but yeah, obviously those northern projects will be a little more expensive, and the season for at least initial field work is a little shorter, though we can drill in those winter regions year round. We do want to make sure there's no snow on the ground when we're doing our geological mapping. So certainly prioritizing those in July and August.
Okay. How would it look like, let's say, in the future then? I mean, you cannot develop 10 projects into production, for example, yeah. But how would it look like? Let's say you will have exploration success, things are going well. Could you imagine then maybe to sell some of the projects to fund the others, or would you partner? Would you, what is the, let's say, the large picture of it?
We're certainly very open-minded in terms of development possibilities down the road. So if and when we do make a large lithium discovery that looks like we can put that into production, we'd certainly be very open-minded in terms of partnering with larger mining companies, or potentially partnering with downstream users of the lithium products that we would generate at that mine. There's a lot of interest in North America for example, auto manufacturers to partner further up the chain towards the actual sources of the resources. Now, there's been a lot of development on the policy front in the United States that will require electric vehicles to source the battery materials from either the US or free trade partner countries like Canada. I believe that requirement is going to be 40% next year, going up to 80% of the materials in those batteries by 2028. So we are seeing a lot more interest downstream than you would typically see elsewhere in the mining industry, specifically in the lithium and battery metal space, to make those sort of partners. So we would certainly be interested in those sorts of partnerships. But really, in terms of where we're going to put our focus, that's really going to be dependent on our first phase programs. Obviously, not all 10 projects are going to be jackpots and have some huge deposit on them. So, we're working with our great technical team right now to help us narrow down, our focus on, what 2 or 3 projects are going to have the most potentials, and so we can make sure that the dollars that we raise from our investors are going to the areas with the most potential for discovery.
Super. Let's talk shortly about the capital structure, financial situation of the company. What is cash in the bank? Who are largest shareholders?
Yeah, so a lot of our largest shareholders are partners and close associates of the Inventa Capital Group out of Vancouver. Inventa Capital's, who incubated the Targa company to begin with. So a lot of high net worth investors from that group. So it's very tightly held at this time. And since going public, we haven't done a private placement. The one that we have open right now is actually the first private placement we've done as a public company. Prior to that, the first sort of 1.2 or $1.3 million was all raised as a private company. So this is really going to be our first opportunity to present the company and open it up to investors elsewhere in the market. So at this time, we have a $3 million private place open that we announced a little over a week ago right now. We're seeing a lot of good interest in that as well. So we expect to close that in the next probably 2 weeks or so. So that'll obviously change sort of our shareholding a little bit. But prior to launching the placement, we had about 58 million shares outstanding and about 25 million warrants as well. So we're doing quite well. Yeah, but again, very tightly held at this time.
Okay, super. Well, then, Cameron, thank you very much for the first insight. We look forward to good news, of course, and I have a good feeling that we talk then quite soon.
Thank you, Jochen. I'm looking forward to it.
Super. Thank you very much, Cameron. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Cameron Tymstra, the CEO of Targa Exploration. And you heard it. This is a real lithium powerhouse in 4 provinces of Canada with 10 projects. And things have started. The ball is rolling. And I'm a shareholder of the company, of course. You maybe should consider that. Check it out. Thanks for watching us. And bye-bye from Switzerland.